Welcome to the maiden edition of the program, More Through SDGs. Yes, More Through SDGs will be coming your way from now every Wednesday at 12:30 on Voice of Delta 97.9 FM. And today happens to be the first time ever on your radio. Yes, More Through SDGs, and it's coming your way from the office of the Special Assistant to the Governor of Delta State on Sustainable Development Goals in partnership with Delta Broadcasting Service, DBS Asaba. Alright, so today, without wasting much of our time, because we have a lot, of course, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. I know maybe you've heard it countless times, or maybe not, but today we have our expert right here in the studio talking about the people that are our guests today. We have the SA to the Delta State Governor on Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, Lady Diana Eriochomi Eyo Inoite. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Welcome to More Through SDGs.
Oh, I'm happy.
Or better, let me say, welcome to your program.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So when you hear Lady Diana, the next thing that follows is SDGs. Because I'm thinking that literally you breathe SDGs, and so you're going to hear more from Lady Diana. And also today I have the Technical Consultant, Directorate of Sustainable Development Goals, Delta State, Augusta Impact Kennebo. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you're here to impact on us what SDG is or mean. All right. My name is Ifi Osita Olonwa. You can call me straight out of radio or Ifi Double. I am your host today. And so let's delve straight into what SDG is about. SDG sounded like, I don't know, but to some persons, it may sound strange to them. So let me start with Lady Diana. What is SDG, or what are SDGs? The basic.
Okay, so basic is the SDGs in full is the Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
Sustainable Development Goals, a lot of people are more familiar with the MDGs, which were the Millennium Development Goals. But the United Nations haven't spent a few years on the MDGs, have what you would call graduated or revamped it to become the SDGs. And these are global goals. There are 17 numbers, so if you're very good with numbers, keep this in your head. 17 numbers, which means there are 17 goals that the entire world has signed up to and has been advised and is guided to ensure the development of its own people and community and the planet as well. I think that might be the basic way.
It's actually the basic, but now that you mentioned 17, there are 17. It's for me, it's looking like it's quite a lot. Can you give us a brief overview of the 17 SDGs and their significance in addressing global challenges that we're facing today?
Okay, so a brief overview will start with number one, which is no poverty. I mean, that is a no-brainer in the entire world. Even in the developed countries, poverty is still a subject. I guess religiously it is said in whether the Quran or the Bible that there will always be poor people amongst us. But what does the goal tend to achieve? It tends to reduce that number to the barest minimum, and also ensure that even the poor have access to basic amenities. So that's an example. We have 3 that is on good health and well-being. We have 4 on quality education. We have 13 on climate action. All of these goals the numbers basically is a guide to take different actions on different aspects of life. So whether it's health, education, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's the climate you're speaking about, whether it's partnership, which is goal 17, partnership between like you're seeing now the office of the SA and the directorate on SDGs and DBS, whether it's partnership with CSOs, government and private sector. That is the anchor, is the baseline in which all of these other 16 goals, the way we will get closer to attaining it before we even sustain it.
Okay, let me come to Augusta Impact. You are the Technical Consultant, Directorate of Sustainable Development Goals, Delta State. Now, we know that we have 17 goals, and Lady Diana just highlighted some of the goals, and I can agree with her that those are the goals that we need to sustain. Now, how sustainable do you think these goals are, especially in Delta State?
Okay, if we're talking about the sustainable development goal, first of all, graciously we want to say that the government, in 2016, because we need to look at the overview or the background of the SDGs, even in Delta State, in as much as we're looking at it from the global perspective.
Okay.
So in 2016, the Delta State government under then it was called Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on SDGs. So when the transition came from MDG to SDGs, it took effect in 2016.
Okay.
Because 2015 was when the goals were adopted, and the countries, which Nigeria is one of the signatory to the United Nations, agreed to that goal. So meaning that the state has that responsibility too, because at the federal level you have an office, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs. So it cascades down again to the state level, where you have the Directorate of SDG, and graciously the governor has also, given us a wonderful lady, Diana, to be the special assistant to the governor on SDG. So you now see that we have a good structure, because that's where the mandate lies, and that's here the Office of the Directorate of SDGs and the Office of the Special Assistant to the governor on SDGs are these two. Big two pillars, trying to do the most they can, to see how they can bring in stakeholders together. So when you say how sustainable it is, it can only be sustainable when these two offices, which I must recognize the work going on, what they have done so far, to showcase the SDGs and to ensure that, the critical stakeholders, because it can only be sustained when stakeholders plays their role. And also I want to appreciate the DBS too. These are wide opportunities, and coming in as I see you as partners too,
right,
to this development. That means I think Delta State is making efforts, there's progress, in trying to see how, first of all, the government, which is a key driver of the SDGs, integrate, or we call it mainstreaming of the SDGs. Then we look at the local governments, we call them localizing the SDGs. We look at the private sector, we look at the civil society, the role they play, the academia, the community leaders and others. So all this is the role these two main big offices are trying to do, to ensure that in planning, in program, in implementation, project are sustained. Because it's not just about the goals. We are saying that related to what you are doing, that if MDAs and all these stakeholders relate it, then the SDGs can be sustainable.
So we go from the theoretical aspect to now practicalizing it and seeing the result. And so talking about results, and then that your office is actually pulling weight in terms of implementing the SDG goals. What have you been able to reel out your success story so far?
I think my what we would say my officer's success story is partnership, and to be able to convince other people as to the role that they play in getting it done, just as Mrs. Augusta has just said. That partnership would be our first success story. Being here and being able to collaborate with your laudable body is an example of the success, because no tree can make a forest.
True.
And that without your help we might not be here today. So that we're here today is truly our success stories. But from day-to-day activities like the SDG community worker, where we actually go to the people, and we've heard that people assume that development is for government, but development can only be sustained even if given by government through the people. So if government comes to your locality and build a school and you vandalize it, then you are the one that is not sustaining development. And that's part of the thing that we're here to come and say. If His Excellency says, I want to give more to Deltans, Deltans are the one that needs to embrace the more, accept the more, and sustain the more that is coming. So we have that SDG community worker, we have our summer camp. That one is my heart. I think a few days ago we launched the Delta State SDG Baba chair.
What's that about? Baba chair, like
so basically it's like the way the men or the women, whoever goes to the barbing salon to barb their hair. Now there is this beautiful SDG chair that can be in your street tomorrow that basically is giving free haircuts to anybody who truly wants to cut their hair. And what we get in exchange is that you give us a minute to tell you about the SDGs and tell you about the MORE agenda.
How about hairdo for women?
We will get there. We're taking it one day at a time, but these are the innovative ways, and that's why I say partnership is the strongest asset we have. The NYC is collaborating with us to do that.
Because I think that yes, we have 17 goals, but if we start like one step at a time, if we say okay, we're tackling zero poverty, not like we're tackling poverty, and then we say okay, this stage this tenure is poverty we are tackling, and so no to poverty, and everything in us, the wherewithal provided, and we'll tackle poverty, and then we'll move to another goal. So I'm thinking that could help, because 2030 is already here.
No, you know the beauty thing about these 17 goals. That was I think in 2018 there was a booklet we developed, integrating to make the MDAs understand. The good thing is that all the MDAs, they're talking about poverty now. So we're looking at, for example, Ministry of Agriculture, right? For example, now if they're talking about Ministry of Education, it is goal 4. Ministry of Women Affairs, it is goal 5. Water Resources is goal 6. Ministry of Youth Development is goal 8. So when you're looking at the MDAs who are responsible for peace building institutions, Ministry of Justice, you look at climate change, you look at Ministry of Environment, all the MDAs are implementing at least minimum of 1 or 2 of the goals. Some even do 3, 4, 5. Because when you add sanitation, you add environment, you have climate and all that. So they are all interlinked and interwoven. So we wouldn't say the only thing is that, when you come down to government level, we're not looking at allocation of budgets. Right. That's where challenges will be that, we would have loved to do that, but our budget this year, this is the approval. We couldn't be able, or we're not even able to access the fund. I think that's also where it calls for partnership too. For us to be able to say as a state, this is how far we are going.
Okay, let me come to Lady Diana. As the SA to the Governor of Sustainable Development Goals, talking about the 17 goals now, which do you want to stamp your feet and say, before my tenure elapses, I am going to conquer this, and you are at it already? Or you just want to do it, 17, let's go. And
I don't think any individual or state can truly say that they can conquer a goal. I think they can embrace it and run after it, but I don't think that anybody will boldly say, I want to conquer a goal. For my office, I believe that the goal that we have embraced would be goal 4 on education. And that's why we're really here. So whether we're in the communities, whether we're on the radio station, whether we are in a courtesy court or a commissioner's office, whether we are in a conference or a technical room, the truth is that we need to educate people about the goals and the role they play. As Auntie Augusta has just said, people don't know. If you don't know something, you cannot practice what you don't know. So I believe that that's really been our anchor point. Know it, and not just know it because it sounds good to know. Know it and know the role you play in the entire globe, because our action in Delta State affects the nation and then affects the rest of the world.
All right, so let's talk about before now we had that vision 2020. We had it like a very long time, and then 2020 came and COVID-19 took over 2020. Now, in talking about SDG, we know that we have they said that by 2030 we're supposed to have been able to achieve all these goals. we know. Now, what challenges do we face as a state, as a country, globally, in achieving the SDGs by 2030? Let me start with Augusta.
Okay, thank you. It's an ambitious goal. It's quite bold. Like we said, there are 17 in number. The most important thing the United Nations is looking at, in as much as we are giving a framework of 15 years to implement, we should be able to, there's what we call going back to your place to localize, to say, okay, this is, for Delta, for example, out of the 17 goals, Delta have been able to, you can see a lot of interventions, programs getting towards, for example, let me give you example like youth programs.
Okay.
You see women program, you see girl child program, you see programs on poverty reductions or alleviation. So in terms of that, the challenges we are having as a director, let me put it like that, is we're still working towards the MDAs, the ministries, department, agency, buying in fully to implement. What we are telling them is that your budget line, your annual budget line, the activities you are doing is already SDGs. But what we are saying, please, apply the principles of SDGs so that we can get tangible results, so that when we look at the performance, it will really see the real value of the money, value for money for those projects or programs or interventions you are doing, especially at the community level, because these are the last beneficiaries. Or the targeted by the beneficiaries of any program or projects that we are doing. So that is one aspect of it. The second one, well, Delta is when you look at the issue of funding, of course, it's quite a big project in the sense that it is not only SDGs in quotes as an office that can do it, but at the same time, the funding is not really there as it should, with all our ambition, desire to go around the communities, look and crawling of the 3 senatorial districts and all that is not quite easy, but we have not really gotten it as we should in terms of going down to the grassroots to ensure that people even know, like the way I must be very frank with you, during the MDGs, people know what is MDGs.
Millennium Development
But when you say SDG, they will just give you one
Sustainable Development. Millennium.
They will just call one way. S is for. They will just give you different acronym, the meaning of those SDG. But all the same, I must say the challenges are to be overcome with time, and we are working.
You agree with me that maybe they are enormous? Because I think that yes, we have 17 goals, but if we start like one step at a time, say okay, we're tackling zero poverty now, like we're tackling poverty, and then we say okay, this stage is poverty we are tackling, and so no to poverty, and everything in us, the wherewithal provided, and we'll tackle poverty, and then we'll move to another goal. So I'm thinking that could help, because 2030 is already here.
No, you know the beauty thing about these 17 goals. That was I think in 2018 there was a booklet we developed, integrating to make the MDAs understand. The good thing is that all the MDAs, they're talking about poverty now. So we're looking at, for example, Ministry of Agriculture, right? For example, now if they're talking about Ministry of Education, it is goal 4. Ministry of Human Affairs, it is goal 5. Water Resources is goal 6. Ministry of Youth Development is goal 8. So when you're looking at the MDAs who are responsible for peace building institutions, Ministry of Justice, you look at climate change, you look at Ministry of Environment, all the MDAs are implementing at least minimum of 1 or 2 of the goals. Some even do 3, 4, 5. Because when you add sanitation, you add environment, you have climate and all that. So they are all interlinked or interwoven.